You ever think you're moving into a peaceful neighborhood, only to realize it's run by people who mistake control for community? My wife and I just wanted to enjoy our little slice of heaven. But when the HOA couldn't scare us with letters and fines, they went further than I ever imagined. They sent biker thugs to my doorstep, thinking I'd fold. 3 minutes later, those same men were begging me to stop. And here's how it all went down. When we first moved into the neighborhood, I thought we'd found paradise. A quiet street, friendly waves from neighbors, the sound of kids riding bikes in the distance. Everything looked picture perfect. My wife was over the moon. She'd spend hours outside, arranging flowers along the walkway, setting up a little bird feeder, and hanging wind chimes that danced with the breeze. It was exactly the kind of simple joy she had dreamed of. I remember one Saturday morning, she brought me lemonade while I was unpacking boxes in the garage. She smiled, saying, "This is finally home." For the first time in years, I felt my shoulders relax. Life seemed normal, peaceful. But behind that peaceful smile of suburbia was something darker lurking. At first, it was nothing but whispers, little notes on doors, passive-aggressive stares from neighbors. I brushed it off as small-town quirks. After all, every neighborhood had its oddballs, right? Turns out, ours had more than oddballs. It had an HOA with a mean streak. And before long, I'd learned they weren't afraid to play dirty. The first letter came tucked neatly into our mailbox. Violation. Front yard decorations not approved. My wife's flower pots, apparently against community standards. We laughed it off at first. Who could be so bitter about a few daisies? But the letters didn't stop. Next came the bird feeder. Then the color of our mailbox. Then the fact that my wife had hung a wreath on the door without permission. Each note carried a warning tone, a threat of fines, a reminder that the HOA owned the neighborhood. I'll admit, I underestimated them. I thought ignoring the nonsense would make it fade away. But the truth is, the more we ignored them, the bolder they got. My wife started to feel uneasy. She'd look over her shoulder when gardening, whispering, "Why does it feel like they're watching us?" I reassured her, telling her it was just petty power trips. But I was wrong. This wasn't just about rules. It was about control. And when people obsessed with control feel ignored, they escalate. And escalate, they did. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon. I wasn't home. My wife was tidying up the porch when she heard it, the low rumble of engines in the distance. At first, she thought it was just traffic passing by. But the sound grew louder, closer, until 5 motorcycles rolled into our driveway, their riders wearing leather vests and dark shades. She froze. These weren't friendly weekend riders. These men looked like trouble. One of them dismounted, heavy boots crunching on the gravel. He pointed at her and growled, "Take down the flowers. You've been warned." She tried to explain, her voice trembling, but they cut her off. HOA doesn't want your yard looking like a circus. You got 24 hours. The sight of them circling the property like vultures left her shaking. She locked herself inside until she heard my truck pull up. When I stepped out, I saw them. 5 menacing figures, engines idling, smirks plastered on their faces. My wife's wide eyes from the window told me everything. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I wasn't just a homeowner anymore. I was a husband about to protect his wife. I walked straight toward them, calm but firm. The leader, a grizzled man with a scar across his jaw, took a step forward. "Your wife's got a problem following rules," he sneered. I didn't flinch. "No. You've got a problem thinking you can scare her." The men chuckled, the kind of laugh bullies give when they think they've already won. My wife stood on the porch, gripping the railing, her fear almost palpable. But inside me, there was no fear, only resolve. The leader puffed his chest. "We don't want trouble. Just do what HOA says and this ends." I leaned in, my voice low but sharp. "You made the mistake of threatening my wife. That means it's already begun." They shifted uneasily, their laughter dying out. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't bluffing, I was deadly serious. And they felt it. One of the bikers muttered under his breath, "Something's off about this guy." He was right. I wasn't the pushover they expected. And soon, they'd find out just how badly they'd underestimated me. "Here's the thing," I said, pulling a folder from under my arm. Inside were photos, documents, and recorded conversations. Months ago, when the HOA started harassing us, I began collecting proof. I had suspected they might try something shady, but even I hadn't predicted this. I flipped through the folder and held up evidence of their violations: financial misconduct, false fines, even illegal intimidation tactics. "You think you're here to scare me? You've just tied yourselves to a sinking ship." The scarred leader glanced at the papers, his jaw tightening. The others looked less confident now, exchanging nervous glances. "Tell me," I continued, "did the HOA mention this little stunt is a federal crime? Sending people to threaten homeowners? Because I've already got law enforcement contacts waiting for me to make one phone call." The biker who had threatened my wife earlier shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, I saw hesitation in his eyes. My wife peeked from the porch, her fear slowly melting into surprise. She was seeing me not just as her husband, but as the man who wouldn't bend, who came prepared. The tide had turned. And they knew it. The leader tried to save face. "You're bluffing." I stepped closer, meeting his stare. "Do I look like I bluff?" Silence. The weight of my words pressed on them like a vice. One of the bikers swallowed hard, then spoke up. "Look, man, we didn't sign up for this. HOA told us you were some stubborn neighbor causing problems. We didn't know. Didn't know you were committing harassment on their behalf." I cut him off. Too late now. The scarred leader's bravado cracked. He lowered his voice. All right. Just don't call the cops. We'll back off." Another chimed in, almost pleading. "We don't want any trouble. We'll talk to the HOA. Just drop it." 3 minutes. That's all it had taken for the roaring bikers who came to scare my wife to crumble into apologies. From bullies to beggars, just like that. My wife stepped outside, her fear replaced by disbelief. She whispered, "They're actually scared of you." And she was right. They weren't just scared, they were done. The bikers left as quickly as they came, engines fading into the distance. My wife and I stood there on the porch, the silence almost surreal after the storm that had just passed. That evening, I got an email from the HOA. No threats, no warnings, just silence. They knew their little stunt had backfired spectacularly. Word must have traveled fast. In the days that followed, neighbors I'd never spoken to came by quietly, thanking me. They'd been bullied by the HOA too, but hadn't known how to push back. For my wife, the biggest victory wasn't the HOA retreating. It was knowing I'd stood by her, unshaken, even when they sent thugs to our door. She smiled at me one evening and said, "They thought they could scare us. They didn't know who they were messing with." And she was right. The truth is, bullies only win when you let fear rule you. Once you stand your ground, they're nothing but smoke and noise. So when people ask what happened that day, I keep it simple. HOA sent biker thugs to scare my wife. 3 minutes later, they were begging me to stop. And that's how peace returned to my home.